What's happening, everybody? Real quick, just make sure I've got all the buttons and everything on. If you are watching on the YouTubes or the Facebooks, just give me a quick little, hey, I hear you, just so I know that I got all the buttons pushed right. My name is Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed. I haven't been live in the last few days, been busy in the studio the last several days. Finished up a new album, hopefully be ready for you, gosh, just a few weeks from now. So I wanted to, hey, Stratman, what's happening? All right, very good. Lloyd, Joe, Rick, Joe, another Joe, Carl, Kay, Rye. All right, excellent. Glad to see everybody's here. So I'm gonna kind of get to it, but at the same time, if you have some questions as I go, feel free to throw them down in the chat. I know I don't always like answer the questions right away. It may not seem like it, but I do monitor them very closely. And a lot of people ask me, why do you do all this live instead of, kind of making them and posting them the way, like the old school way, the way I used to. And really, it's just a lot more fun. I think it's a lot cooler when I can do it live like this, and I can see if what I am saying is is getting through, or if I'm, I can judge by questions and comments whether or not the stuff that I'm talking about makes any sense. So I think it's a lot more effective for you. So as always, if you are interested, the jam track I played on the way in, by the way, is from 5x5 Blues Jam Tracks. I'm going to be pulling a few from there today. It's part of the All Access Pass, along with, I don't know, a few hundred other jam tracks that we have. If you want to check that out, you can get your free How to Jam guidebook at the URL on your screen right now. Another thing you might want to check out that I often forget to mention, I'll say an oldie but a goodie, the 4-note solo. And if you've seen it on YouTube, I do have an updated version of the 4-note solo. Comes with the jam track and the tab. I'll walk you through literally lick for lick, note for note, all of it. The one that's on YouTube, obviously a little more brief. I didn't break it down that much. It's really the one you can download is more like a mini course, if you will. Very handy. I would say probably 90% of my premium members have been through that. It's been very popular over the years. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about what to do when all goes wrong. Okay, so I know that's a happy subject, happy topic, but what do you do when all else fails? Okay, so like and this is kind of geared towards the jammers, right? I'm a big believer in playing music with other people. I believe there is no substitute for getting out there and either playing with at least one other person, if not a whole stage full of people. I think you will learn, you will gain and learn more from that experience, really, than almost anything I can think of. And if you think of it as, practice and game day, your practice time, the whole reason we practice and that we learn and that we try to improve is so that we can have game day, right? So we can go and play and have some fun. Playing music, I mean, I've been doing it pretty much my whole life, and even in my family, growing up, we sat around the piano and sang songs and played. I mean, that's just what we did. It's a huge part of my life, has always been a huge part of my life, and so for me, playing music with other people is sort of the ultimate fun. It's the ultimate good thing that comes from playing music. So kind of keep that in mind, that almost everything I do is geared towards that end. So I often think about, okay, well, if you're going to play with a band, how are you going to handle this? Or if you're going to play with a buddy, how are you going to handle this? So that's kind of how we're going to look at it. So a lot of times what happens is you find yourself in a situation. Let's say you go to an open jam session. And I know I'm talking a lot, and I will get to the playing part here in a minute. But let's say you go to a local pub or a local club or wherever happens to be a jam session, right? And there's drums, bass, maybe keyboards, maybe another guitar player, whatever. And here in Southern California, we have a lot of those. I know around the world, some places have more than others, but let's just say that that's what you're doing. And you walk in, put your name on the list, and when it's your turn to go play, a song gets called, okay? And let's say that it's a song you've never heard before, okay? But they say, don't worry, it's kind of a shuffle, it's in C, you'll be fine. And you think, okay, well, I know a couple of other songs maybe that are in a similar key, I'd probably be okay. And the band starts, and all of a sudden you realize, man, this doesn't sound anything like anything I've ever heard before. Okay, and ask me how I know that that'll happen, right? You're up there and like, it's just you're hearing what's going on, and you're like, this is not a shuffle. It's nothing like what was described to me, or at least in to my ear, it's nothing like what I expected it. And I don't know the song. I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. I have no idea what to do. The last thing that I want you to do is stand up there like a deer in the headlights. Okay? You can handle it, and I'm going to show you how. Okay? The first thing is all going to boil down to rhythm. We're going to talk about rhythm and lead. All right? So in the case of a rhythm, you can always fall back on what I call chicks. Okay? So if you listen to a jam track, okay, or listen to a band, right? It's always drums. For the drum, it's always kick and snare, right? You can hone in on that kick and snare. And the backbeat of most blues and rock music is kick drum happens on 1 and 3, snare happens on 2 and 4. If you can lock in on that snare drum, you can be okay, because you can play just a small chord, right? Turn off that overdrive a little bit. Ooh. So let's say you're playing a blues in C. Let's say it's a straight feel blues in C. 1, 2, and 3, 4, right? And all I'm doing is I'm just playing that chord, and I'm using a small version of it, right? I don't want to throw down a 13 with a 9 in it or something weird. Okay, this is I want to get by. So I don't want to put down all kinds of wacky chord shapes unless I know they're gonna work. Okay, so we're gonna keep it simple. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And notice that with my picking hand, right? I'm keeping it right here. I'm keeping everything close to the vest all the time. And my left hand is gonna play the chord, and then that's it. We're gonna relax the left hand, meet with the right hand. Keep it close. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Nice and simple, right? If I turn on a straight feel jam track, which I'll do right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2. And here's the 4 chord. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. And back to the 1 chord. Okay? And the 5, and the 4, and the 1. Okay? Now, there is another cool little thing, okay? Because I'm not playing on beat 1, I'm playing on beat 2. There's a mental process that's going on for me that you can't see and can't know about unless I tell you. And this has to do with the blues form, okay? You may remember that sometimes a blues has the 4 chord on the second bar. It's a quick change, okay? And sometimes on the last bar, we go to the 5 chord, and sometimes we don't, okay? So there's a couple of spots, right? And there's a couple of other spots, but those are the most common. So if I don't play on beat 1, that gives me time, and it's only a second, but it's all I need, to listen, to hear if the band went to the 4 chord on the second bar, right? Because I'm right here, I'm ready, so as I'm listening, and I hear if the band went to the 4 chord on the second bar, and if they did, then I move down my half step, right? 1 chord, 4 chord. Remember, I don't have to do much. When it comes to the 5 chord, like that jam track right now didn't go to the 5 on the last bar. I couldn't remember, right? So I listened, and I heard, oh, it didn't go to the 5, so I stayed put, okay? A lot of times I can't remember whether this jam track goes to the 5 or not. So as I'm playing along, my ear is doing some guessing. And I think that's important for you to know, that I don't know, okay? And you won't either, and that's okay. Your ear will guide you. because if you know the spots to listen, and you know what the possible changes are, then you will hear, well, it's one of two things. So you'll hear if either it changes or it doesn't. If it does, you know where it went to the 5 chord on the last bar. On the second bar, if it changes, you know where it went to the 4 chord, because that's a quick change. Okay, so this is where a little bit of understanding goes a long way. And you might think, oh, that guy's got a perfect ear. No, I don't. I don't have a perfect ear. Far from it. I just have good guessing skills. I'm good at limiting my options before I start to play. Okay, so that's how that works, and it's really, really important to know that. Okay, cool. Glad you dig it. Thank you so much. So let's try a different jam. Right, that was kind of a straight feel. What if it's like a jump feel? And I'll stay in C. Okay, so really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Here's the 5. Here's the 1. Does it go to 5? Yep. Okay, and notice right there, I skipped one. I skipped a strum. Big deal. The band's still going to go on. Skip a strum. If you're not sure, wait until you are. Okay? No big deal. No big deal. All right. What about like a slow blues? A lot of people, oh, that won't work for slow blues. Sure it will. How about a slow blues in C? Just because we're doing some C. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1. Still on the 1 chord. I was listening to see if it would change because I couldn't remember. Here's the 4, 3, 4, 1. And you can change the voicing if you want. If you're sure that it'll sound okay. 3, 4. Here's the 5. 3 and 1. 3. There's a 5, right? So it works just fine as well over a slow blues. It'll work over any feel because it's the fundamental rhythm. It's that fundamental backbeat, that snare on 2 and 4. You're just mimicking it. That's all you're doing, okay? And it's unlikely that another guitar player is going to be doing it. It's extra unlikely that the keyboard player would be doing it. So even if you have another guitar player and another keyboard on stage with you, it's extremely unlikely you would get in the way using that. Okay, so like I said, I call it chicks because it's tick and tick, and it's just a little quick, short thing right on beats 2 and 4. But man, I tell you, it works all the time. Okay, when we do the BGU live events and I get players who can barely string 2 or 3 chords together, and they have to get on stage in an hour and play with the band, this is what they use, and it works. Okay, it works every time. So please don't just poo-poo it as, oh, that's too simple. Maybe it is, okay, but you want simple. When you get up on stage and your nerves are on 10 and 12 and 15, you need simple. Simple is good. Okay. So that's going to handle your rhythm. Let's talk a little bit about soloing. Okay, and I mentioned the 4-note solo earlier. If you're not familiar with the 4-note solo pattern, it's a very simple pattern, right? So if my root is C, I've been doing C. So I'm going to put my 3rd finger on the C of the 2nd fret, okay, which is here on the 13th fret. All right. So, and I can play the note a whole step below it, and I can play the notes on the string above it. And I can bend the top note. Okay? And I can play a lot of music here. Okay? So just to show you, that's just off the cuff. If I can get that thing to shut up. That's just off the cuff, right? I'm truly just making it up. Nothing but the little 4-note solo pattern. You can play there all day long. Okay, the entire intro solo to Texas Flood, save I think one lick, is that pattern. It really does work. Don't feel like you need a whole lot extra. You don't, okay? So let's say that again, you go to the jam, right? We put yourself back in that position and you're at the jam and you have planned out exactly what you're going to play. Okay, let's say you've been through, I have a course called 5 Easy Blues Solos. Okay, and a lot of people use those at jams because the whole idea is that they're very simple to play. There's nothing faster than an eighth note. And a lot of times when we do the live events is, somebody will have one of those solos ready to go. They've got the blues, shuffle in E ready to go. So we play Sweet Home Chicago and they get going and inevitably they make a mistake. But of course, you're going to make mistakes. It's part of the deal, okay? And it's okay. Even if I have planned out exactly what I'm going to play, and I get up and I start going, the chances are pretty high that I'm going to make a mistake, right? If you plan out an entire 24-bar solo, right, chances are you're going to make a mistake somewhere along the way. It's okay, right? It should be no big deal, okay? So let's say that you make a mistake 6 bars in. What are you going to do? Okay, well, hopefully, the way you've learned the solo, maybe when it comes back to the top of the form again, you could jump back in. You could play the last half, right? What are you going to do in the interim? You got 6 bars to kill. You just played 6 bars. You got 6 bars to kill before it comes around again, and you know where you have another spot you can jump back in. Which, by the way, speaks highly to the point that when you learn a solo, if you learn a complete solo, whether it's one of mine or one of somebody else's, I don't care who, learn how it works against the chords so that you can have different places where you can jump in, because you are undoubtedly going to make a mistake and you're going to want to get back. But if you don't know, oh, this is the first lick at the top of the form, you don't know when to get back in. Okay, so please always pay attention to stuff like that. But let's say that you've got that, right? So you played 6 bars, you made a mistake, you got 6 bars to fill, and then you'll know how to get back in. Okay, well, duh. There's where you jump in. So let's say you're playing, shuffle and E, right? So I've got, and now I've made a mistake. So now I'm just going to play the 4-note solo pad. And then when I hear it come back around, and then I could jump back into whatever else I was going to do, okay? But without something to do, without a way to, sort of fill that time and play something, you're just going to get more and more and more anxious about leaving empty space, right? Because imagine, if 6 bars in, you make a mistake and you've got 6 bars of nothing, and then you're able to jump back in. Okay, well, 6 bars of nothing is going to seem like an eternity on a bandstand. I can't think of anybody who would let 6 bars go by. It will seem, even 2 beats seems like an eternity when you're on stage and your nerves get kind of crazy. So it's okay to leave a bar. Believe me, it's absolutely okay to leave a bar empty. Even a bar and a half, even 2 bars. I do it all the time. If you're comfortable up on stage, you'll get to the point where you can do that because you sort of set it up and then you leave this big empty space and then you do something cool and it all works. But when you're sort of hanging on by the skin of your teeth anyway, and then you end up with like, uh-oh, and there's a few bars that are going to have to sit empty unless you figure out how to fill them, that is a really, really, really anxious place to be. Okay, so hopefully I can save you some of that. Last thing. So the last thing I want to talk about. So we've got sorry, I'm just checking out comments here really quick. Look at all my friends hanging on. Hey, honey, that's so nice. I'm glad. My wife's at work today, so it's nice she's watching. She plays saxophone in the Disneyland band, so she's over there playing saxophone today. Anyway, so we have rhythm elements that we can handle with the chicks. That'll always work. We have lead elements. That'll happen with the 4-note solo, and that will always work. The one other spot that will really, really trip you up if you are not wary of it is the end of a song. Okay, and the most common ending is commonly called an Ellington or a bassy ending. Rhythmically, they're the same. Depends on whether you're a blues or a jazz guy, I think. But it's sort of the, you know, right, that sort of thing. Even like on Pride and Joy. Okay, even the end of that. You may not seem like it, but believe it or not, it's that ending. So that's a really, really common ending. And I probably have a video on how to do that somewhere around. But what might trip you up is if you're not hip to it, okay? Let's say you're not hip to that ending, but the band's likely to do it. What are you going to do in the meantime? The easiest thing to do is nothing. Actually, the easiest thing to do is just to sit out. And I can't tell you how many times the ending of a tune has caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it to end. Nobody cued it. There was no... I got no input from anybody that this was going to be the end. So I was not expecting the end. So the band started playing the end. I just stopped and just wait. Da, 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 da. Right? And then I'll hit the last chord. Totally works. Ain't nobody going to mind. Because if the band's doing it anyway, it's all good, right? They don't need you. Okay? But in the event that... The other thing that you can do is in the event that the ending starts, and nobody else is filling, okay? Nobody else is playing a solo or playing a lead or anything. Feel free to again jump in with a... even just some little thing. And then hit the last chord. And again, you can use that 4-note solo pattern to great effect right there. You don't have to play anything fancy. You can also use box 1. Right? And I've got gobs and gobs and gobs of potential endings. I have a 20 turnaround and ending licks course that isn't actually on my website, but if you do the all access, you'll get it. And I have a course called How to Build Blues Songs that's got gobs and gobs and gobs of different kinds of endings and different options taken from a bunch of different tunes. There's tons of them out there, all right? There's tons of different ways that you can end a song. Even just playing down box 1. That'll work, right? A little 4-note solo. As long as you get that last hit at the right time, everything works itself out. It's really, really pretty straightforward. All right. Wow, from Scotland. Hey, that's awesome. Larry, thank you so much. That's the nicest thing you could have said. I really appreciate that, Larry. Thank you so much. David and Mateo, something concerning the B.B. King style. You know what, Mateo? I will put that on the list. We'll talk some B.B. King tomorrow. How's that? I think I've got some time to do a live session tomorrow. So Mateo, we will. I'll try and remember that. We'll talk some B.B. King tomorrow. But go check if you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/bluesguitarunleashed, and just type B.B. King into the search box. I do have a couple of B.B. King licks there, and in fact, I think I did the entire first solo to Thrill Is Gone couple years back, so look for that. It's definitely there. Alrighty. Hey, all right, very cool. All right, well, hey, I think I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm going to wrap this up for today, not take too much of your time. Thanks again for joining me. Hope you dug it. As always, if you like it. Big news today, just passed 70,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, so thank you very much. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to, go right ahead. Get on the email list. I still do more stuff on email than I do here. That'll probably always be the case. I'm old. I like email. But thank you so much for your support over the years. And of course, if you have some friends that you think might dig this video, by all means, share it with them. And I will talk to you soon. Take care of yourself.